I've just realised that everything I own is Montmartre now. I'm not ashamed, because I think that they are, you know, a really good product that, you know, I'm just really happy with. Really like Montmartre. I'm not sponsored or anything like that. I just genuinely like buying Montmartre products over all other products. Today's video was not about my Montmartre products, but it is about something that I have seen a few other art YouTubers do, and Casey Golden was one of them. What I wanted to do was recreate a famous painting in history in my own version. And who is my most favorite famous painter of all time, you ask? This guy has been undisputably my favorite classic artist going back to when I was a teenager, because I found his work extremely obscure to the point where I just couldn't help but love it because it was weird. This particular artist is Salvador Dali. I love him so much. His paintings as a whole, I don't relate to, if that makes sense, as a whole. But there are certain elements in his paintings that I can take and relate to individual bits in his work. I am going to be recreating Salvador Dali's The Temptation of Saint Anthony. Salvador Dali is a surrealism painter. And the meaning of surrealism is it's a painting of something real mixed with something not real. And that's what I love about it, because there's a lot of elements into his paintings that are very creepy, and I love creepy things. Dali did this painting in 1946, and he did it for a competition that a film company was holding at the time. So whoever won the competition, their painting was going to be displayed in the movie The Private Affairs of Bellamy. Unfortunately, Dali did not win, but this painting of his went on to be one of the most iconic paintings of all time. The whole gist of The Temptation of Saint Anthony, because it's one of my it's probably my favorite Dali painting as well. It's the one that sticks in my head the most, other than the melting clocks. Apparently, the whole gist behind The Temptation of Saint Anthony is Saint Anthony's rejection of temptations and urges that lured him in his life, and he tried his best to reject all the temptation due to his religious beliefs, as shown by him holding up the crucifix to repel the evil and demonic visions that he was having. This painting is very sexual in nature. Allegedly, Saint Anthony's desires were of a sexual nature. Hence the reason why there is nude women and there's male appendages, you know, sort of subliminally hidden in the picture, as you can see by the tall pink obstruction coming off of the furthest elephant's back, and a cloud that looks very penisy. Dali put in like the horse and the elephants to symbolize strength, which is quite easily displayed by what the elephants are holding up. Like, they're holding up buildings and they're holding up all these kind of monuments to sort of display strength, pretty much. How I interpret it is, you know, overall to me, I think the painting is pretty much about temptation. You know, can be very great and can be very powerful, and it's very easy to succumb to temptations, whether they are good or bad. So I worked on what I thought my version of The Temptation of Saint Anthony would have been, you know, to me. I worked on this for days. I've worked on this for 2 days, and I'll get it. Alright, here we go. This is my sketch of my interpretation of The Temptation of Saint Anthony. I worked on this for 2 days at this A5 size. It was extremely challenging because I really didn't want to change a lot of elements, because it is really something that I would draw. But there are a lot of elements in the picture that I wouldn't include. So I left a little bit out, or I changed certain things. This is my version of it. I won't explain too much of it right now. What I'll do is I'll go in and I'll do the line art, and I will paint it all up, and I'm going to use the same colors. I'm going to try and keep everything the same in color wise, so it looks, and you can tell that it is a rip-off of Salvador Dali's The Temptation of Saint Anthony. Okay, so that's my line art. Salvador Dali's painting was done in oil paints, but you know, oil paints are not something I like to work in, so it's not my choice. I'm going to paint this picture up with watercolor. done. Oh, I can't believe how long this picture took me. It's just crazy. And like I'm not 100% happy with it either. It was definitely a challenging challenge, this one. Yeah, it's a lot of detail than I would normally put into a picture, so it's really I'm not really big on a lot of detail, especially, and a lot going on with backgrounds, because yeah, I'm not real good with backgrounds. But you know, I thought I would take this on as that challenge to see if I could do this justice at all. Yeah, starting with the little guy in the corner here, I decided to take his limbs, like dismantle his limbs again, as I like to do, and give him like some really ratty hair and really sort of no facial features to sort of, you know, portray that he's like a mutant, like something you'd see on Mad Max, really, out in the desert. The main horse here is, you know, I think it's very fitting with the cross and everything, because the way that I've done these animals, they've really come across demonic. So he is trying to, you know, repel these horrible demon creatures coming towards him, especially this horse with like blood coming out of its mouth. Like, you know, there is all types of, you know, shit's gonna go down when you see something like this coming towards you. So keeping to some of the traditions, I sort of, as you can see, I didn't include the other two elephants here. I personally thought that was just too much, and for me personally, I wouldn't have included so many elephants. Keeping to the theme of the original, I just did one female torso to replicate the desires that Saint Anthony, you know, was being lured by. Now these guys down here, I know in the original there is something going on down here. I'm not quite sure what it is. I presume to me it looks like a Grim Reaper coming after somebody, so I kept that like a similar theme there to sort of replicate that, you know, even in this life now, the temptation for a lot of people is to hurt people. So that's what that replicates. I kept the little house on top of the elephant small here because, well, I didn't want to go too extravagant. I didn't want to go too big because, you know, I'm not really that great with drawing houses. But it sort of pairs off with this one as too, as whereas a lot of people, you know, there's a lot of temptation in this world now where people just want luxurious homes, or, you know, anything shiny, bright and shiny that's expensive, you know, sort of keeping up with the Joneses type scenario. So that's why I left those two in. Try what I changed with this elephant, because in the original there was the elephant with this big mound on its back that goes up like a big tall tower. Well, what I did here was I changed it and made people, there was people in this cloud, obviously they've come out of this home, and they are throwing spears at this elephant below, once again leading back to how people are so tempted with being cruel to each other in this world. That's pretty much it. Like I said, not 100% happy with it, but I took it as a challenge to try and do more, you know, in a picture, and it was so, like, I definitely had a lot of fun trying to recreate, you know, this temptation of Saint Anthony, and it's something I wouldn't usually do. And when I saw this challenge, when I saw a couple of artists on YouTube doing this challenge, I loved it and I had to do it myself. If I see a challenge, even though a million people are doing it, and I like it, I'm gonna do it because, you know, it's fun and something that I would never have thought of on my own. So that's it from me. This video is probably a little bit longer than I expected it to be, but I really struggled with a lot of the background and I pretty much struggled with everything. Oh, it was, yeah, it's just something that I really struggled with. Hey, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!